Okay, everybody, I'm back. Alright, so I got our input jack modules ready to go in. I'm trimming these up here real quick. And again, I did this on the front. You don't have to, but you'll see as these go in, it could be difficult for you to get up under here, and there's going to be a wire that goes in here later on. Some people like to do it out. Some people, like to do it actually in the chassis. So either way, it's good. But you can see here, and you'll see in a wiring diagram, really got to pay attention to detail, with any wiring diagram, of course. But you'll notice that the resistor goes from the ground tab over to the switch. Now, the input jacks are all J12A switching jacks. They're called that because a regular mono jack just has the positive here on this one, and the ground here. But this is a switch that is normally closed in the out when your plug is not in the jack. All four of the input jacks are J12As. Now on the output jacks, you'll notice that the one closest to the octal, the main output jack, is a J12A, but the extension jack is a J11. Excuse me. You cannot use, a lot like Marshall's, you can't use the J11, the second input jack, without using the J12A. If you were to plug directly into this, you'll get no signal out of it. So this one needs to be plugged in order to use this one, because that's exactly what it's for, extension cabinet in addition to the actual speaker that's in the combo itself. Okay, so if you notice, there are jumpers here and here for the output jacks, and you'll also notice the orientation. The upper ones are turned at about a 45-degree angle. The bottom ones, of course, are straight down. So the reason that is the ease of being able to jump these over with the resistor. And this is a typical Tweed input jack assembly. Really, they use these on all the 4 input, 2 up, 2 low, or I guess it'll be bright normal for Tweeds. They were 2 per, and they use this in what else they use this in? The Baseman, the 5E5, the 5. I don't think the 5. Anyway, it was used on a lot of different ones. So I just wanted to point that out. Now, when we go to put the jacks in the actual amp itself, of course, we need to make sure the orientation is right, and it should go in just like this. If you notice, the top jack will have the 45-degree angled pin on it. And these jacks come with lock washers, flat washers, and the actual nut. The lock washers go on the inside of the actual jack assembly itself. I'll put this in here. Then the flat washer on the outside, decorative washer, and then the nut here. Okay. So we've got lock washer, decorative washer, nut. Let me get the nut on here. There we go. Oh, that's crooked. Oh, that was right. Okay. And the second module here. Make sure we have the upper and lower correct, which we do. That's going to go right in here. Alright, decorative washer. Nut. And nut. There we go. And we'll tighten this down with our nut drivers. These don't need to be super uber tight, okay, because you will strip the threads on these. It's a fine thread. Now, if you notice on the output jack, the black wire, let's see if you can see that. The black wire is only connected on one jack, and it's jumped over from the ground to the actual switch part of the jack itself. I'll get more into that when we start testing, but the reason I bring this up is that if you notice the ground tab, the solder tab for this, it has a ferrule, and the actual sleeve, which is this part of the actual jack, is made, you know, into the jack itself, into the ground sleeve. So anytime you attach your jacks to a Tweed chassis, it's automatically grounded. Okay, so you don't need to run a separate ground to this. However, you can run grounds to this, you know, for grounding purposes. But again, J12A and J11, and all four of these are J12As. Okay, and you can see, I'm not sure if you can see that, but it is close where the bottom jacks are right there. It is very close to the fiberboard. It's probably less than 1/8 of an inch in that ballpark. So there's very little room to move in there, and that's true for, you know, any Tweed amp. The black faces were a little bit more difficult because the face was angled back, I think 33 degrees or something like that, and you had to actually insert it up and then try to get to the sides of this, you know, on the wall, the actual edge of the chassis, which is a nightmare, but it worked well. So I certainly can't fault them for that. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start wiring in all of our tone controls and volume controls for our signal voltage here and our grounds. Okay? Be right back. Okay, welcome back. So here we have our 95% wired chassis. Of course, I completed the tube sockets and I moved on to the actual tone pots and input jacks. We'll see that. One thing, actually a couple things I want to point out. Make sure the orientation of your jacks are right when they go on the chassis, because this is a major catch point for a lot of people. They're not quite sure what's going on here, but it's actually, you know, illustrated on the diagram very well. So make sure you get the orientation right here. Now, if you notice, again, please don't be too critical of my wiring, because it's, yeah, anyway. If we look at the signal wiring, I try to keep things as short as possible with it, you know, looking halfway decent. You can use shielded wire on the inputs, that's fine. It just gives you a little bit more noise reduction if you want to do that. And I like to run this bus bar that we have on the wiring diagram. Not required whatsoever, but it does give a pretty convenient grounding point. You can ground this right against the back of the pot, but I just like to do this because it looks kind of cool. Very professional looking. Now, the ground, one side of the pot is grounded, one leg of the pot, and I generally, to keep things simple so I don't introduce any more wire into the circuit, I'll actually bend it over, if you can see that, and solder it right to the pot itself. CTS pots are pretty cool. You don't need to clean the surface of these to be able to solder to them. Like Alphas, you do. If they have that yellow zinc coating to it, or industrial chromium, you really want to get that off, because over a period of time it will peel off. But the CTSs, I don't know, they're you know, they're great. They thought of a lot of things when they made these. Now, if you notice my grounds here, the way I did it, cathode resistor ground here goes, you know, and try to keep your grounds as short as possible, right up to the actual input jack itself. The second stage cathode ground is right, again, to the pot itself. Your plate supply, third stage filtering here, grounded up, you know, to the actual, you know, center of the chassis, or the signal ground here. And the main power supply ground here for the filter caps goes way over here, you know, of course, on the power transformer, like I was describing before. So this is how you want it to look. Of course, you can do a lot neater in this, but, you know, for a general rule, over, you know, building several thousand of these things, doing it like this is one of the quietest ways to do it. Of course, people wire things in different ways. They do different wiring. They do, this, that, and the other. This just happens to work for me because we've done so many, and this is what I try to push in the class because I know that this works. The way this is done right now, it just works. And you'll see that when we start this, start this thing up, get the voltages on it. Have yet to do the 100 ohm resistors, the fixed center tap to ground. That'll be next, as well as our filament wiring that comes off of the pot light right here. Okay. All right, so here we have it. It's starting to look like a microwave. Yeah, cannot say enough about this amp. If you guys have any questions, please ask in the comments below. Again, there's 1,000 different ways to do this, and everybody looks different. Everybody does their own thing. So if there's anything that you happen to see that might be easier to do or whatever, just please let me know. Please let us know, and because this is an ever evolving thing. It's 60 something years old now, and here we are. I mean, we're building one of these in a video, which is really incredible. It's a testament to this actual amp, and it looks really cool. It really does. I mean, it's like looking in the when you do them right, it's like looking in an engine bay of a Ferrari. It's just a work of art in itself. Of course, it's going to sound phenomenal, but it's also going to look like, wow, look at that. That's cool. All right. Thank you guys. Next one again will be filament wiring, and our center tap and our cord will be the last installment of the actual wiring of the chassis. Okay? Thank you guys for tuning in. Please stay safe. All right? You guys have a good one. See ya.